Okay.
Why didn't they go for a bond?
You said this is a PhD program.
Why didn't you go for a bond? Why didn't they go for a bond to pay off the investors who were having haircut? That's a question for the gods.
Okay. Ebo, last week,
you go for a bomb?
Last week,
but come on, how's that even an argument?
Can you imagine?
How's that even an argument?
How's that even an argument? Last week, you emphasized the issues. You don't even understand.
You don't even understand.
He's engaging in ad hominem.
If it were easy,
he's engaging in ad hominem. I don't understand why.
If it were easy to go for loans to pay off, why didn't you go for loans to pay off those people you cut off the yard? Some died. Some died.
Why?
And you say that
you have the chance to reply.
He doesn't even understand.
Ebo, go ahead. Last week you were very
go for loans. You should stop the ad hominem attacks. They shouldn't personalize issues here.
Okay, no problem.
Please
look at somebody who mentioned my name 5 times.
Ebo,
doesn't know that was personalization.
Ebo, go ahead.
No. Can you imagine
I'm saying that.
You mentioned my name. That's not personalization.
You are making a point. You are making a point.
I said ad hominem.
No, I need you to listen to me.
That's what I said. I didn't attack you.
Listen to me.
Abusiafo emu bibia akwaba na yem formula mega TV and platform we so ende Friday mofanchime na Friday na ene Ebo Buckman on TV3 New Day. Ebo Buckman Ebo Buckman Deputy Director of Communications at the United Party. Sanso na owura friend Kwame Janto a private legal practitioner. Ena Abraham Amaliba Director General Legal Counsel, Director General National Road Safety Edema NDC Amanyuku no. Na na Kofi Tonto enso spokesperson, deputy spokesperson dema Dr. Alhaji Baumia. Na ohwe de wa Amaliba ene Kofi Tonto clash on 24-hour economy ndra omo sign yemani into law na. In fact, na any whom implementation any issues are. In fact, the way Amaliba the bufu Kofi Tonto so any the way we see explaining yema si chire no. Ma onu ankasa hu ni smoothness level no hu baby on famfa. Abusunya yebekọ ne yakwa kohwesa anse yakwa kuti sanse ni ebi. Na mesro so document betum. Na wa like this very video bebo papa na wa share na foforo enye biahwe sense hanom eya number 1 authentic platform Mega TV tumri na ya kirisie ebeko yakwa kuti sa ensem no ebi on cocoa sector crisis and so heated argument be equal so between Kofi Tonto and Amaliba any Ebo Buckman Deputy Director Director of Communications Dema United Party Alan Kojichaman to the party no. Yenti sanse ni bine yakoba ebeto was pepepe ediamount.
When the place was virtually empty. Exactly. I mean, I was the only one assessing service. But I mean, all those.
So per Ebo's argument, should we create more jobs at that place for people to go there?
I don't think he's advanced that argument. I don't think he's advanced that.
I've not advanced that argument.
But that's fine. I mean,
let me. But by Kofi's suggestion that you should give people money, you should go and ask those who understand the issues. It will create a kind of inflation we cannot control. No. Because you have not done enough of production.
No problem.
To balance the demand and supply situation.
Okay.
So that one.
If you wrap up for me.
So that one you need to understand that.
Wrap up for me in a minute, then let me move on.
The point that I'm making to you is that 24-hour economy is not a bad thing. You read to me 3 pillars, and I simply ask you, was there a pillar that talks about how they are going to drive demand? Okay. How they are going to drive demand? America is a consumer economy, largely driven on credit system. Okay. But America has one of the lowest inflation rates in the world.
Okay. Let me come to AB now. AB, that's the verdict of the NPP on the 24-hour economy at this stage. I can assume you don't agree.
Well, this is a transformational strategy, which for me is a masterclass. Nobody has said that 24-hour economy is the newest thing on earth. And that to say it is not new, therefore means that we are not doing anything. Nothing on this universe is new. Nothing under the sun is new. But the way you coordinate the activities that will benefit you is what we are talking about here. What he spoke about, create demand, is not what he explained. What he explained about was about disposable income, my brother. Me, I've done my economics. Demand, creating demand means desire and willingness to pay for a product. That's different from, do people have disposable income to pay, to buy? The American situation where they were giving money to people to buy was not creating demand. It meant that there was already a desire to acquire. Then now they give them disposable income to acquire. So if his argument is about disposable income, he should situate it well. If his argument is about demand, he should situate it well. Demand would be available provided that the goods are the goods and services that people desire to buy. So if you look at the three pillars, the first one is modernizing agriculture, and that's why you spoke about the production transformation. So under the 24-hour economy, modernization of agriculture requires mechanization, automation, move from this hard labor, cutlass and hoe type of thing, move away from it and modernize agriculture. Irrigation. You get my point?
Yes.
The next one is supply chain efficiency. And that's why I'm saying that this whole thing is a masterclass, because if we do it well, like Ebo is saying, this economy will have people coming into this country rather than we crossing the Sahara Desert to go and look for greener pastures. The next one I was talking about was market efficiency. That's supply chain. Who doesn't know around this table that our products, our produce, rot at the farm gate? Who doesn't know that? Who doesn't know when you are traveling from Accra to Kumasi, you see our plantain rotting and sitting by the roadside? Who doesn't know that? So how do we turn around that? How do we ensure that the plantain person can as it were, add value to all these products? The third one is the human capital that you spoke about. We need a mindset. Human capital, we need a mindset. We need to transform our thinking. Why is it that when you want to build a house, you go and look for Togolese masons and POP people? Why?
Cheap labor.
Then also, it's about the fact that they wouldn't say that today my child is sick, so I can't come to work and continue with what I started a plasterer. Mindset. So, if you put all this together, the three, it will give you like 8 or 9, what do you call it? The Grow Ghana thing, what do you call that one? The Grow Ghana, produce more, wear Ghana, make Ghana, which is the textile area. So there will be several industrial areas that this tray will feed into. You get the point? And so I heard the NPP opposition in parliament making noise about the authority. Look at all the things I've said. And you remember during the, we have to give incentives to the private sector to also come into the 24-hour economy. You know, Akabile, you're not listening to me.
I'm listening to you with rapt attention.
You know, we said we'll give incentives, electricity, security, and then what? Is it water or something? Now, you need a centralized coordinating point. Because if I set up my company, I will not be walking to IGP and say, IGP, I want 14 policemen. Then he said that, hey, ECG, I want the electricity free of charge. There must be a centralized coordinating point which will take on board all these things. I am not supposed to be doing the legwork for that. There should be an authority that will be doing the legwork. We have 14 companies, private companies that have come in. 15 of them are complete. They want electricity tariffs to come down. There must be are you understanding? I'm practicalizing it. The factory owner must not be the one walking to ECG, walking to IGP. Do they now understand why there must be an authority for that? You heard them make those, arguments. I wanted to use an adjective before that one. Those arguments.
Stick to arguments.
Yes.
You're fine with that.
Yeah, that, you can just start it. You don't need an authority. But look at the things I've just talked about. How does the one who is putting his money into the 24-hour economy, establishing factories, be the same person to be walking to institutions asking for? Don't you need to incentivize them? So that's the reason behind the authority. And it's the coordinating authority that will deal with all over the country, all the industries that want to come on board to deal with the 24-hour economy. So for me, I am of the view that what is critical is that we shouldn't fall into the trap or fall into the situation where the NPP found itself in the free senior high school program when they started, and it was so haphazard. Our children were sleeping in places that we didn't want them to be sleeping in. We must start this project well, and if it means going by what Ebo has said, let's go by it and then graduate it. Okay. And I even heard Guzitano saying that it's not going to be an event. It's going to be a process. And I think that the beginning is key and important. Let's get our acts well so that this policy doesn't also suffer the same fate like other policies that we had. You mentioned some of them here. Planting for food and job. Those, the students, those NAPCO and those things. A failure of this project will be so monumental that it will not be in the interest of the people of this country.
Let me come to you now, Senior. I mean, so far, what we've heard in relation to the campaign conversation, are you able to put the two side by side, and do you get a sense of a clear direction that we are heading to in terms of what government wants to do?
When you say campaign, good morning to our viewers and good morning to my fellow panelists. When you say campaign, you mean before the election?
Before the elections, absolutely.
And then now?
Now, yes.
If you remember, before the election, I remember President Mahama indicating that it's not everywhere where 24-hour can be applied. There are certain areas where it's necessary, and he mentioned places like the port, and there are certain areas that really and truly it would not be necessary to have 24-hour. But looking, when it started, everybody wasn't too sure what this 24-hour thing was about. It looked as if it was just rhetoric, and there was no plan to it. Bringing it to today, we see that there is a plan by bringing in a policy. That is the first step. The most important thing is how you now implement and put that policy into action. Because there are certain attributes that would either play against or contribute to the implementation of the 24-hour economy. So let me look at some. It should be based on a robust economy. So if you don't start working on the economy today, it's going to be very difficult to put it in focus. Because with a shaky economy, really and truly, things can go haywire. We saw it in the last 8 years. It should be based on a strong city. There are attributes to having a strong city and having a weak city, but you should be able to make sure that you can handle any fluctuations in the city, because whatever you're doing in terms of 24-hour is linked into people earning revenue out of what they are doing. Then there is international pressures with some of the goods that we're looking at, the agricultural goods, pricing. So, for instance, right now, cocoa is a typical example, where cocoa, once upon a time, was 5,000. It's dropped right down to 3,000. And so if you're planning and you don't plan well, it can affect the outcome of the results you get in how you export your cocoa. But hopefully, that won't happen, because what are we saying? Adding value to cocoa. And we know that when you add value to cocoa, you earn more money that way than exporting whole. And the president has said that we're going to stop all this, exporting whole. Then the areas of concentration, I guess that are the 4 pillars that is in there, the value added bit. For me, the plan of this 24-hour economy should be linked into a national development plan. Now, why do I say that? The NDC has only 4 years. They don't have 8. They have 4. If it so happens that they come back the next 4 years, then the implementation can stretch longer. However, it's only 4 years. If another government comes into place,
and they have 2 years, 10 months left.
I'm not talking about. I'm not coming. I'm not talking. I'm not talking. I'm not.
In context. That statement is in context. After the election, you have 4 years.
You said 4 years, not guarantee. You didn't say anything.
No, what I'm saying is that it was in context.
Okay. 4 years, 4 years, 4
years. You are taking it out of context.
The conversation.
But you taking it out of context.
The conversation
is in your interest, because you are counting. But the counting too, you count. You won't count and finish, because you won't come.
Mr. Dantua, don't worry. Let me show you that. Let me show you that I was listening to you. As of today, they were not listening to Mr. Dantua. The conversation is about. We were talking about the need to ensure that it sits within a development plan. Mr. Dantua, proceed for me. How it should sit within a development plan. So that whether it is 8 years or infinite.
Election cycle is 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. This 24-hour economy didn't start 2 years. It started before even the last election.
Yeah, you're right.
So 4 years. Now, you have only 4 years, and you've got to be able to be sure that those pillars that you choose is going to make a transformational change going forward. Very important. Then the attributes that will make this work, that you've got to be able to make sure that when these attributes are in place, there is no wahala. Energy, road transportation, transparency of projects, private sector involvement without any party bias. That this is NDC business, this is NPP business, this is CPB business, we cut you aside. No, that shouldn't be in. Business is business. And make sure that everybody who wants to be part and parcel of the 24-hour economy, it doesn't matter which party you belong to. Open it up, because what are you trying to do? You're trying to create substantive jobs for people. And please remember, and I think it was either Kofi or AB talked about it, which is very, very important. Cost of production. Cost of production. And at the AGI, it is one thing that
was Ebo who said that.
Okay. It is one thing that we look at, cost of production. And cost of production is linked into interest rates. Because if you have interest rates that are galloping, cost of production is galloping, like now things are getting better, it means that all the losses that I made because of the galloping interest rates and the weak cedi, I would have to make my money back when things are better. No be so.
And so, tenable. You were pricing it very high too. I heard your boss, your man say that on TV, on radio. How would you be recouping what you lost? But when at that time you were increasing it, that argument should not stand. You people should reduce prices. That's all.
Look, people go for loans in banks to handle their business. No be so. And if the interest rate is so high, and the cedi that would help the business to move is wobbly, and I have bought things at a certain expensive price, what do you expect me to be able to do?
Don't complain. And you also sold it at a certain price.
And even at that certain price,
so why are you economical? Why are you economical in your analysis?
When you were talking, I was quite
No, but you cannot mislead.
No.
This is emotional. This is emotional because the prices down. When you go to the shop, it affects all of us
I
here.
said write it down. When you were talking, I was quiet.
Okay, we'll come back.
No, people, when you were talking, when you were talking, I was quiet.
You have to open the next
Write it down.
You have to open the next page. The page is full. Mr. Tonto, go ahead.
He's intentionally doing that so that my train of thought goes up. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Okay, I'll let you finish.
Let me finish. Bought it at a certain rate. And even sometimes what they bought, not sold. What happens to that one too? So the point I'm making is that we need to look at and have a good eye where cost of production is concerned.
Okay.
Now remember, we are not only creating jobs. We are developing a nation. Because in creating the jobs, you fix your roads, you fix your energy, you fix all sorts of things. So as you are creating the jobs, it's also developing the country. And that is why the time frame is so important. I've talked about interest rates in the private sector, but I think government should also not wait for the private sector to come in. They should lure them in. They should lure them in. Yes, they should lure them in. And let the private sector tell them exactly where the challenges are. Exactly the kind of commodities that would help the country grow. And also those commodities that create capital flight for us. The private sector has to be part and parcel of it. It shouldn't only be government. I would like to see a situation that after this policy is in place, government calls private sector, sit down, let's see how we get this thing moving.
Okay.
So that they are part and parcel of it. Don't say, okay, I haven't finished.
You're almost done.
Now, let me try and answer Kofi's problem about demand. There's already existing demand. And I'll give you a typical example of fuel. We import fuel, don't we? Tons and millions of dollars go out there. If we are able to add value, and thank God we have oil, if we are able to add value to our own oil and create the kind of fuel that we're importing, is that not an existing demand? And is there not added demand where you can also export into the sub-region and create foreign exchange back in? So there is already demand in so many things. It depends on how you align your priorities and the kind of areas you look at, especially for this period. And I like what Ebo said, that it has to be done in phases. And those phases should be very, very clear. No ambiguity, so that people can understand. Now, the planning bit is where the authority has come in, where the law is concerned. For me, that's the planning bit. Without a plan, forget this thing. There has to be a plan. And for me, the authority bit should be linked into a development plan. The development plan should be acceptable to all, so that at least whatever we are doing is concretized in there and we are moving, even if the government changes. Because the phases that Ebo is talking about have become successful, any government that comes in would have to follow it up. Let me end by saying that it's not only putting in the policy, it's not all the things I've said, it's not only that, but most importantly, It is the education of the 24-hour economy. People hear what the 24-hour economy is. From this point on, we need to go into schools. We need to look at the private sector. We need to look at the small-scale enterprises for them to understand what is this 24-hour economy about. Get out there. Put your people out there. And it's not only government people. Businesses, come to the AGI. Let us sit together and see how we educate the masses as to what this 24-hour economy is all about. Once people get hold of it and understand what it is, they would all fill into the gaps. And then we can start the implementation and start it strong.
Okay. Maybe you wanted to make some points a minute.
The issue is a very emotional issue where the economy is doing well, but you go into the shops and prices are still high. And I heard the AGI president this morning said that because they recorded losses when prices were high, they will have to recoup. And I say a simple knowledge of the market will tell you that when the prices were going, they were also transferring the prices to us, and we're buying. Don't we need to have a relief now? And who says that because at that time they didn't buy your goods, we, the sellers, the buyers, should suffer? If you don't know the type of goods that need demand in the country and you bring anything, it's not my business.
So who said that happens?
Because if your goods were in demand, they would have been bought. So now that they were not bought, you can't transfer that to us now when the economy is doing well.
Okay.
I think that we need a competitions commission, like in South Africa, that has the power. It's a statutory body that has the power to look at pricing, whether your price is commensurate with the product, your inputs. So how much did you buy this? How much are you selling it? There must be that correlation. You don't just come and your wife is sick, your daughter is to go to school, then you calculate those amounts, then you come and put it on the product and come and sell it to me. What kind of behavior is that?
You know something. You know something. What AB is forgetting is that we are an import-led country. If the production was here, that you can control. But we are import-led.
Okay.
And we bring in things. We spend foreign exchange out there to bring things in. If we can close that import gate, then maybe what he's saying would work.
Okay. I'll come to you, Kofi, first. A minute, if you have any reaction, any points you want to react to.
I think, largely when we debate, I think we debate with preconceived notions. When I came in, I could have taken a completely different position and rubbish the 24-hour economy. All that I sought to do was I asked you to reiterate the 3 pillars.
Yeah.
And then I said, in addition, there should have been a pillar that looks at demand. That's what I said. So I didn't rubbish what they have done. I said I would have loved that there was an additional emphasis on how they were going to stimulate demand. But Amaliba goes to town unhappy because he thinks, because I've raised issues of creating demand, I'm rubbishing the policy. No. I have my own reservations about the policy. But you see, sometimes when we sit on national platforms, some of us are able to advance a national discourse, and leave other things for other times.
Okay.
Ebo sat here and threw jabs at NPP about 3 or 4 times, referencing what we have failed and all of that. But you see, people can always reference other things. The point I was making was that we need to be able to stimulate growth. And look, credit is not disposable income. Disposable income is something you actually earn. Credit is not disposable income. And all I'm saying is it's one way of stimulating demand. We are talking about continuum. My uncle talked about the policy, the government having 4 years and another government coming in. If NPP has advanced the idea of credit system and it will help the 24-hour economy, why not?
Okay.
Why not?
All right. Ebo, a minute.
No, I get the bit Kofi is coming from. But you see, the policy itself inherently will stimulate demand because wear Ghana, eat Ghana. Are you getting it? But the point I'm making is that it should start from people having money to spend. And you can only have money to spend if you are working. That is why we want to solve the problem of unemployment in this country, so that it's a way of also stimulating demand in an economy.
And I'm saying that,
and
I'm also telling you that.
Kofi,
I'm also telling you that. Look, I'm also telling you that.
No, you have, okay.
Having money to spend, having disposable income to spend is one thing.
Yeah,
but there are other ways you can give resources to people to spend.
No.
The two can exist in the same.
For example, if we reduce, I'm coming. For example, if we reduce taxes, it stimulates demand.
Okay.
There are a lot of, within the economy, stimulating demand is not only giving money to people. You see, Kofi's.
I'm not saying they should give money to
if
people.
you give, because you cited an American example. You cited an American example. I'm saying that if you do it here, it will create a kind of inflation we cannot control.
It was based on what you said, and I just cited an example.
Let me also say that.
I'm not saying we should give money to anybody.
We are coming up with a new policy.
Yeah.
So if I make reference to the failed policies of NPP, that is right. What we are saying is that we don't want this government to go on the same path.
The only people who have had failed policies.
No. So, I mean, NPP just handed over to
failed policy.
Okay. So that's it in terms of the first part of the discussion this morning. Let's switch now and let's talk briefly about Cocoa Board before we go off. Let's talk briefly about Cocoa Board before we go off, and I'll start with AB directly opposite me on the Cocoa Board issue. Yes, we are almost wrapping up. We just deal with Cocoa Board and go. We are told that government has released some 854 million of outstanding payments to cocoa farmers, and I mean maybe there are those who are saying that this should not be necessarily celebrated. They are saying that government has had a full year in office. This Cocoa Board situation was preventable. One full year, you knew how things were the previous planting season. At least now some monies are coming in. We shouldn't have even gotten here in the first place, but at least some good news now. You agree?
Let me start by saying that this program is like a master's degree program. So it is allowed to critique what a panelist says. That is not an attack. Once again, it is allowed to critique what a panelist says. We are not in the first degree here. So that when you say something, you get up and go. No. This is like a master's program. And so you must be comfortable and have a big heart to accommodate.
It's a PhD program.
Even a PhD, it's even a PhD. So to be singled out, you have said it. You said it's wrong. Now the issue is this: Cocoa Board, as we see it now, is not the Cocoa Board that we used to know. This is a very sick Cocoa Board. Thank God to the mismanagement of the previous administration. So the reduction in the price is unfortunate. This government didn't want it that way. But the global prices also contributed to what we are seeing. I am glad and happy to know that monies have been made available to the LBCs, who would in turn now give those monies to the farmers, isn't it? Yeah. What can I say again? What I can say is that I also heard the management of Cocoa Board cutting down their own salary. Is that not true? You heard it?
Yes, they announced
Yes.
it.
That tells you how cabinet, government, and even the management of Cocoa Board view the situation at Cocoa Board. Top management have taken 20% cut, and then I think middle level have taken 10% cut of their salary. That is also commendable, because you must feel what the cocoa farmer too feels. But moving forward, I think that as a nation, we shouldn't manage Cocoa Board the way it was managed again. Never. Sometimes when you are in public office, think about it as your private office. Run it with a commercial, attitude. But people are put in public office and they want to run it down. And that's where we find ourselves. Right. I have seen a video in which cocoa farmers in the Sefi area were demonstrating. I've seen it here. And I'm now going to talk about how low our policies have become. One of the farmers was exhibiting or displaying an envelope that they were paid to come out and do the demonstration. I mean, I think that...
but maybe you agree with me that those are allegations that...
I'm saying that it's in a video.
Yeah, no, I've seen that video too.
You've seen it?
I'm saying that those are things that we can't confirm.
And so if that is true, and I've just put out information,
okay,
have I attributed it to somebody?
No, not at all.
Or you think that there's somebody behind it?
I'm not thinking anything.
So what's your problem?
I'm listening to you. I'm just pointing out that those are allegations that
if that is how our policies have become low,
you agree with me on that?
If that is how our policies have become, I think that we must rise above it.
All right.
That is not how to engage in politics in this country.
Okay. Kofi, let me come to you now. So what do you make of the cocoa board situation?
Cocoa board has always had challenges. I mean, anybody. I'm probably the youngest sitting here. If I will tell you, problems with cocoa board didn't emerge in the last 8 years. We've always had challenges. So if we want to talk about the challenges of cocoa board and block, we can. No issues. But let nobody confuse the issues. The incompetent mess we are witnessing today has absolutely nothing to do with the challenges of cocoa board. It has everything to do with terrible trading decisions by the current management of cocoa board. Simpliciter. Let's segregate the issues. Cocoa board took a trading decision not to sell when they got a price of $7,000 per ton. That was a decision they took. That decision backfired, and it is what has led us to where we are. We can talk about that as an individual issues and then raise issues, if any, about how cocoa board was managed by the NPP. That's okay, I don't have any problems. But for anybody to attempt mischievously to link the current mess, incompetent mess by Amaliba's government to the challenges cocoa board has always had, is disingenuous and dishonest. A group of people took a terrible decision, which has caused some farmers to lose 100,000 cedis. 100,000 cedis. That is what we are talking about. So if there is anything the president needs to do, in addition to everything else he's doing, is to go back and audit the decisions that were made by the traders at cocoa board. Why? First of all, what informed you to give the farmers 3,600? You must have come to a number. You must have done your permutations. You must have done your projections. And you came to a number of 3,600 for the farmers. Then midstream, you reduced that number to 2,587. Never in our history has this happened. So the first question is, when you got the $7,000 per ton, which translates to the 3,600 per bag, why didn't you sell 70 to 80% of your cocoa at that point? Why did you wait? You've waited and caused a mess. And instead of admitting that you have failed, you want to link it to challenges of cocoa board. Why? Rollovers have always happened. We came to meet rollover. Cocoa board roads and their syndications and issues with cocoa board contracts, etc., they've always been there. Issues with jute sacks, they've always been there. Time immemorial. So why is anybody, Amaliba and other people, making this mischievous and dishonest attempt to link the mess they have created to the old issues of cocoa board? Let's stop it. Let's stop it. Look, pay cocoa board, pay the farmers. I am of the firm view that we can actually go for a bond or go for any form of loan or whatever you want to call it, and at least give cocoa farmers the 3,100, which you came to meet. Why not? We can do that. Okay. I mean, you've spent 240 million buying sanitary pads and other things. You can save cocoa farmers. We have done it before. When we came in and you had messed up, you had taken 1.8 billion and there was a rollover, we took loan and we were able to issue the right payments to the cocoa farmers. Okay. You can easily do that. It's not an issue.
Let me come to you.
But the simple question is, why didn't they go for
you
a
said
bond?
This is a PSG program.
Why didn't you go for a bond? Why didn't they go for a bond to pay off the investors who were having haircut? That's a question for the gods.
Okay. Ebo, last week,
you go for a bond? Last week, but come on, how's that even an argument?
Can you imagine?
How's that even an argument? How's that even an argument?
Last week, you emphasized the issues, the management.
You don't even understand. You don't even understand.
He's engaging in ad hominem.
If it were easy,
he's engaging in ad hominem. I don't understand what.
If it were easy to go for loans to pay off, why didn't you go for loans to pay off those people you cut off the yard? Some died. Some died. Why? And you say that
you have the chance to reply.
He doesn't even understand.
Ebo, go ahead. Last week you were very
go for loans. You should stop the ad hominem attacks. They shouldn't personalize issues here.
Okay, no problem.
Please.
Look at somebody who mentioned my name 5 times.
Ebo,
doesn't know that was personalization.
Ebo, go ahead.
No. Can you imagine that?
I'm saying that.
You mentioned my name. That's not personalization.
You were making a point.
I said ad hominem.
No, I need you to listen to me.
That's what I said. I didn't attack you.
Listen to me. Ebo, last week you, basically made a point about how we cannot overlook how Cocoa Board has been managed over the period. On the flip side, too, there are those who make the argument that, they had a full year where they had the benefit of the previous year. Do you still stand exactly where you stood last week when we had a conversation?
You see, Cocoa Board issue, people want us to push the mismanagement corruption issue to the periphery. We will never do that. I made a very interesting point last week that if Cocoa Board had made profit during NPP's time, they could have used part of the profit to defray or to make up for the difference for the cocoa farmers. So corruption and mismanagement can never be taken away or cannot be taken out of the discussion. So when we talk about it and Kofi is feeling it, so be it. But the point is that, you see, I've listened carefully. NPP leaders, some of their leaders and communicators speak about this issue, and I have yet to hear any of them make any cogent argument in respect of how we can move this Cocoa Board issue forward. Ante spoke, it was terrible. What did he say? He attributed the problem we're having to the issue of we having a stable currency. He said we should go and borrow money to bail out the farmers. Kojo Aponkoma was speaking. He said it's a haircut. Let me put it on record. What is happening is never haircut. I don't know why. I don't know how they understand haircut. Haircut is reducing the value of your investments, debt, or assets. Price reduction is not haircut. Price cut is not haircut. Let me explain this. If the government, the 3,600, if the government had decided that it was not going to pay the 3,600 to people who had supplied, that would have been haircut. But the government said, I will pay that one, but the new one that will come, I will give you the new price.
But to the extent of...
So it can never be haircut. So it is never haircut.
To the extent of predictability from the onset.
No, what I'm saying is that it is never haircut. They want equalization.
I'm not even...
No. They want equalization. Because of the haircut they gave Ghanaians and how it has become an albatross, they just want equalization. They engage in what is called fallacy of force equivalence. They just want to create a situation to think that you've also given Ghanaians haircut. Let me make a point. Let me make a point. You see, let the truth be said. 2023-2024, NPP gave farmers 32% and took 68%. Kofi's government.
I hope I will respond to that.
They couldn't even give them half of what was due them. They gave them 32%. This government has given 70% and is currently giving more than 90%. You can't give what you don't have. You can only give what you have. So if the prices of the commodity or the price of the commodity has fallen on the world market, you say the government should go and borrow money and pay more than what is prevailing on the market? Does it make sense? Is that how you manage the economy? No wonder we had the kind of economy you had under NPP. If you listen to Amin Anta, this is a former finance minister. Look at the way he thinks about the management of the economy. Complaining that we are having problems because our currency is stable. And that to him, cedi should depreciate. And he was talking about something like we have overvalued our currency. There's nothing like overvaluation of currency. What we are practicing, our system is foreign exchange management system, where you have to allow demand and supply to work, yet you intervene through intermediation and all that. Okay. That is the system you are practicing. So his concept of we allowing our cedi to depreciate to a point so that our export will be cheaper is not going to help this economy.
Okay. Senior, I'll give you the final word. Before I'll do the few seconds around. Relax for me, don't worry.
Where a syndicated loan is waited for by Governor Bank of Ghana, Minister of Finance, government to balance an economy. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? A loan, Cocoa Board loan, is waited for by government because they say it will balance the economy. Doesn't make sense. Cocoa Board, there's been a cocktail of problems. Remember, this present management of Cocoa Board came to meet huge debt. Huge debt. True or false? Huge debt. Huge debt that surmounting that debt is not going to be easy. And unfortunately, the price that they had set up, having cocoa prices falling on the world market, hasn't it fallen on the world market? Let's be honest with ourselves. Look, the new priorities that Cocoa Board has set up, cocoa price stabilization, quality control, research and development, local processing, transparency and accountability, but most of all, farmer support. For me, that is where the crux is. Because for Cocoa Board to be able to what? To work, they need those cocoa beans. Who grows those cocoa beans? Is it Cocoa Board?
The farmers.
It's the farmers. So, I would suggest, if we really, really want to look after the farmers, because a farmer today can't buy a motorcycle. They don't go out to buy a motorcycle. They'll be able to buy a motorcycle. So if we really, really want to take care of our farmers, we should have a sinking fund where, if prices fluctuate, we keep the price for them. If prices fluctuate, we need to look after those farmers. If for nothing at all, they have helped this country for the last 60 years by growing cocoa. By growing cocoa. And it is not an easy thing. It's hoe and cutlass. Hoe and cutlass. And we don't even tend to give them the respect for what they've done for this country. And so that for me is where the focus is. In terms of the management, look, from what has happened, I trust this management that is in place. For what has happened, they'll learn from it. And I know Randy Abe won't come and do this thing, I'm going for loan here, I'm going for loan there. I don't think government is ready to do that. If they are talking about 24-hour economy, then they are talking in a sense where we are going to add value. We are going to add value. Look, Akable, once upon a time, I used to export coverture from CPC in Tema to the UK. And that coverture made more money than what? The beans. So if we are going to add value, we need to help those small farmers even have small processing plants on their farms to start adding value.
Okay.
To start adding value. But most of all, have a sinking fund that will take care of farmers when there's any fluctuation so that at least they too can live comfortably. How many of those farmers come to Accra? How many of those farmers know what Accra is like? Shouldn't they be able to? When you go to places like the UK and America and even Germany, the farmers are the most rich people because they are taken care of. So for me, cocoa is key. Galamsey is threatening it. It is one area we also need to look at to help the cocoa farmer. I'm a cocoa farmer. My father left us a huge cocoa farm in Kawie. And we are starting to go into it. But for me, I would have a processing plant on my farm where I can turn the beans into liquor and then sell.
Okay, all right. Kofi, you wanted to make some
very quickly.
points. Just
Look,
quickly.
let the record reflect. This is not the first time Cocoa Board or any CEO came to meet debts at Cocoa Board. Let's state things as they are. Cocoa Board has always had debts. They've always had challenges.
Yours was astronomical.
It doesn't look.
Yours was
Look, you can
astronomical,
debate
Kofi.
that. We can also debate it
Astronomical.
otherwise. But don't create the impression that Cocoa Board didn't have debt. Yes, you are right. We didn't give them a haircut like your Sakura. You actually cut their head off.
You finished.
Cut their head off. That's what you have done with the NDC. You have cut their head off.
When
Look.
response, you say he's engaged in that home.
But okay, sorry.
That's not fair.
Sorry.
Yeah. So go ahead and wrap up for me.
They've cut it off. And look, my brother Ebo, you are saying that if Cocoa Board had profits, they could have used some of the profit to defray the challenges.
Of course.
Yes, no problem. But the point is, did we even have to have the problem in the first place? Did we have to make a bad trading decision to go and take Ghana's money
was no
to
bad
defray?
trading
There was
decision.
bad
There was
trading
never.
decision. There was
There was
bad
never.
trading decision. Look, a government announced a price. The question is, who announced a price of 3,600? What happened? What happened for you to come back and reduce the price? Look, we have done it before. This is not the first time a government is announcing a price. Before a government announces a price, it would have done its projections, permutations, and said that we are going to sell 70% or 80% on forward and the remaining on spot. And based on that permutations and calculations, we are giving you this price. What changed this time? So don't come and sit here and create the impression that they did everything well. They didn't. They didn't. They messed up. And you, of all people, should be the last person. You should be the last person. What trade? You are now a trade expert. You are now a trade expert.
International trade is between a seller and a buyer. Buyers on the international market knew price was going to fall. No buyer was going to buy your product when he knew or when he knows that the price is going to fall. So it's not about you selling.
All the time. Prices fall all the time.
For me, I'm wrapping up.
Yeah. You see, in actual fact, when I talk about the issue of Cocoa Board, the NPP people should be the last people to be talking about it. So they shouldn't even participate in that conversation at all. Given your track record. So when we are talking about issues of how you could make progress in respect of Cocoa Board's management and all that, you keep quiet and let us talk. Okay. Now listen. Let me tell you something interesting. If you look at 24-hour economy, if you look at the reforms that were brought up by this government or put forward by this government, you will see the GTP reflection. You see a reflection of GTP. What it means is that we are being a very responsible opposition. We want this. It's not about the vote we had. We are being a very responsible opposition. We want this country to move forward. That is why when we lost election, we gave the copy of our GTP to the president. Go and check the 24-hour economy and put it side by side the GTP. Okay. You will see that the GTP is featured in there. Even the reforms, the fact that we shouldn't even rely on a syndicated loan, it is in our GTP and all other reforms that is there. It shows how responsible you are and how irresponsible Kofi and his people are.
Maybe they asked me whether you're still in the studio. They said you've been quiet for too long. You get a final word. Then I'm done.
But you can go to. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give senior answer. In
my head, I feel like you jealous.
I just want to make it very short, and I want to talk to the cocoa farmers. Once upon a time, there was a government that gave you 30%.
32%.
32%, yeah. Today, there's a government that has given you 70%. Think twice.
Now, more than 90%.
Who are your natural allies? There are some who gave you 30%, and there are some who gave you 70%. I'm told even now 90%.
92%.
Who are your natural friends to the cocoa farmers?
Senior, finally.
You don't feel the sense of secaditiousness in what this government is trying to do, at least at this point. From the time John Mahama came in and some of the things he's put in place, his ministers, to this point, you don't see the sense of secaditiousness. For me, we are building a nation. And it is important that this nation is built. Because where Ghana is today, we should have been here ages ago. ages ago. Ages ago.
Nobody is raising any issues about the bad trading decisions.
There was no bad trading decision.
Nobody.
There was no bad trading decision.
Nobody is raising any issues about the
It's a
bad
narrative
trading.
you guys are pushing.
You know another lie they are telling that we gave 32%. Do you know why they are saying 32%?
32%. You can know the calculation right now. We can know the calculation right now.
Guys, I was quiet.
We can know the calculation right now.
You let off us finish. Let off us finish.
Senior, land for me.
So you distort one's.
You said
Top plan.
let me remind you. You said the
we are building a nation. And where we are today, and you look at the world is closing. Every country is closing. Every country is looking at their 18. We should start looking at our 18. Okay. And those things that aren't helping us together, collectively, because we are building a nation, we should try as much as possible to make sure that we do it together. Okay. Otherwise, going forward, we take one step forward, 5 steps backwards.
Right.
Speculation.
Speculation. They are talking about
speculation. I deserve a right.
No. They are talking about bailout. Banking sector crisis. You need only 9 billion to bail them out. But you spent 25 billion to collapse banks. And they are talking about bailouts. They are talking about bailouts.
Stop that lie.
Speculation or speculating in the cocoa industry and speculating based on available data is not mismanagement.
Okay. How? That's right.
You get my point? That's the industry. That's the industry practice. There's speculation emanating from data.
That's what
it's not mismanagement.
30% they are talking about.
My guest this morning have been Abraham Amaliba, Director General, National Road Safety Authority, also a legal practitioner, member of the National Democratic Congress. Kwame Janto is a lawyer as well. With the Convention People's Party and with AGI as well, the people that Ebo doesn't want to hear from this morning. Ebo Buckman, Deputy Communication Director for the United Party. Kofi Tonto is a Deputy Spokesperson for the NPP flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We'll take a quick break, but before we do that, I have some good news for you.
All right, so that is it. Inti Madika Kajo say MPP ni MPN Nipa MPP ni uhui. No kwari party no kwari dia. So be ka kire MPP ni manager tum dia. Abusia. Enka dibia obedi wakem. Wahu kede ni Kofi Tonto te wono ma wo ye no. It is obvious so Kofi Tonto empe no kwari. And from the look of things, omo ankasa nim se omo aban a omo bedi so. Omo mbo mo homadin. Omo ankasa nim se from 2017 NPP aban ba so. ABC 2025 January 6 NPP for done a benga demo and DC for Ghana for one tomo. In fact, Ghana for antomo kra. And it was all about a year. It was all about a year about back and forth. Taxes. Me, I am a mentia, you mean MPP for ye free dia. Omuji ya ji bola taxi ukrumha. Omunkayana. Na mukra na ye ndisi communicators moko tina platform so amomo muntiase. So omuji bola tax. Omuji bola tax. Omuji bola tax. Eji betting tax. Bet na nyamu na muye yo app no anyamu na mu create ye. But nkofo di tax to so. Ye dwuma kura ye MPP fo nyaaya na nka omo di tax beto so. Because emre bi na omo ka ho asem say social media, they need to regulate it, they need to tax it, they need to we see senka MPP abanyan fris for nka krom ha bebo. I'm telling you, MPP abanyan fris for nka Ghana bebo sipo because enyema na nkofo ya shasi a omo ye things that they wanted to do enyema na omo shasi a no mo peso mo digu akwan mu no na eye seya na no mo peso mo se Ghana system no. Because you can't tell me say Bruniti ni kuruma wa creating app wahu nyansa bebree aba ne tirim a waye bi na aboa ne man na waye extend to Africa na wo nso African leaders mwanya de papa biya anye se nipa na wono waye no bibi no wo nso obi yusu bia woti ba bi me so me di tax beto so me so me di tax beto so aden a emboa youth no na ade emboa youth a ye gi hu sika akoye se police ni ehu na se bi o twintampe na waka cho se wo ne wo ni nye maju sika oji sika no wie na wajan se fantampe ko eyeden bribe and the NPP were literally what they were literally what I mean taking bribes from Ghanaians. Because explanation to that was say bet ninye say boys no say young people be meanwhile munyan create adwuma bia yemi say ehun say ne John Mahama by we tax na fi ho but won't say bet no ekoso say the first na tie no but Akufo-Addo pension upon say na tax da so nyina na nkofotwa because na nyuma ni system ni mu sabi obi nya adwuma ya I don't think say nipa kro no be sori say wo fatuo afasikan agyane say me kokoro no bo nya hu bank manager bia na se nya hu obi o machi na odi tuo ni sikan kokoro no bo a oso oye bank manager da I'm telling you nya hu bi obi a oye I mean certified mechanics a oji ni sika oye na dwuma wo ne shop na omo be chi no na so di tuo ne sikan akokoro no ba den ekom de no obeye sa na a different reason but na nye unemployment it is an NPP 4% omo isi unemployment ho kwan okurum ha they were what they had chance to what to I mean create jobs. They had the chance to create jobs. Omunya akwanya ne senkombe create jobs. But because of say na omo ankasa no any omo adwim so be create jobs other than to what to tax the people no enti no na omo dwumadi ani se ombe tax enti ne Kofi Tonto abetina honom na okasa asif NPP omo abam na omo ya angels enti kurom ha ede kinofrata edi nkofo haircut omo sika ebewura ni data bank me ne kinofrata nka NPP fo wa ni wa nka I don't think say nkombe kasa okurum ha because to let Kinofrata run away from this country quite enough of MPP being opposition for their what? For their messes, for their mess they created. Kinofrata adwene free kurum ha a oni Ghana ha a also mba. I think say no mo kokota na ene. Eno kra na enough evidence to show say Ghana and MPP for what no they didn't do the right thing. Enough evidence nanka mo nipa no hwe musika sem so photo samfo na se sebi aban ni ho biwa what will trigger you for you to run away from the country from accountability again you see here so it tells you so obi no hwe sika sem so no adwane mo wudi a chain na mo ye victims enka we say by now NPP phone call could be obeka se bi okase from nsawom but NDC phone so agege omo so eno mutirim yo mo de no mo nam kurum ha ena yebo mo nsamnane ena mo TV so ne radio so no mo keka nsem mo pe nanka John Mahama ni Attorney General any Chief Justice papa wo yam yedi hu ya wo Chief Justice owura Bafo Boni papa yesere wada wo yam yemu binom yenya I mean discourage in your work unya nshasi o enti ma yehu de eko nanka by now these people if they are rotting in jail if these people are speaking from Isawom they are speaking from Hankafo they say omo yare anye de obi be ka so omo yare nti omo de omo beko what you see the cabinet is speaking from various centers of our prisons enka I don't think say nko mbetina wa yididi enka mbetina say yididi say the Kofi Tonto anya na ho wa betina ha Kofi Tonto adidi ba omia the 12 billion palugu dance scandal no nya say Kofi Tonto no ka ho nya bidi because ni spokesperson then the deputy spokesperson what you say enti no sabi ye kan mama yenka we know what we are saying it NDC for mo make sure say mo nya modwuma yie na mo silence these people because mo ntimi anya adwuma no anya mo no mbe kire mo opposition ya mo 8 years mo ntimi anya wobɛtena position for 1 year 2 years ɛna wobɛtumi ayɛ adwuma no ana no ɛnka meyɛ agye di so obi sii sɛ MPP wɔ position na wɔnya nsa sɛ bi ɔba aban mu a n'adwene ni hɔ obi na kan ɛm na meka ɛnka meyɛ agye di I am trying hard to believe it sɛ nokware anyway kyerɛ w'adwene wɔ comment section mu ɛna yɛ Friday Freaky Frankie Friday bi yɛ dɛ kyerɛ w'adwene wɔ comment section mu makra bye bye